Happy New Year, Kairos leaders. For our first science assignment of the new year, we are going to learn a little bit more about the winter solstice. Now, you might remember the winter solstice happened back at the beginning of winter break on December 21st. Do you remember? So today we're going to talk a little bit about what that means. So the winter solstice, depending on how you look at it, is either the shortest day or the longest night of the year. It happens every year, and it always happens on either December 21st or 22nd. So to better understand the winter solstice, it's important to know how our sun and our earth move together. So our earth is in constant motion around our earth. So it is constantly orbiting or traveling around the earth. It takes 1 year to complete an entire trip. So one trip around the sun equals 1 year. Then our earth itself is constantly spinning, giving us night and day. Who knows how long a day is? 24 hours. And then lastly, here's an important thing. Our earth does not actually sit upright. So if I have my North Pole and my South Pole, they're not right here, but instead, the earth is actually tilted on something called its axis. And so the North Pole is actually over here and the South Pole is down over here. Now in Oregon, we live all the way up here in the Northern Hemisphere. So we live relatively close to the North Pole. And if you're down below the equator, you live in the Southern Hemisphere. So on the winter solstice, it's when we are actually tilted the furthest away from the sun, giving us the least amount of sunlight in the entire year. But here's the good news. As we get deeper into winter, our Earth will continue to orbit the sun. And every day, we will lean in to the sun a little bit more, giving us a little bit more light until June 21st or 22nd when we get to the summer solstice. So friends, enjoy the returning of the light, which will grow every day a little bit more.
The winter solstice for me means that from this day forward, things begin to warm and brighten. We don't just feel it, but we can also see it happening little by little all around us. It's the time when a plant's activity begins moving from the roots underground to create life above ground. In fact, I've already seen some of the cherry blossoms in my neighborhood blooming. And the brave beginnings of plants poking back up from below.
When I think of solstice, I think of the hope that we get knowing that each day will get lighter. And I think of the resilience that it's taken to move through the longest night. All around the world, from culture to culture, over generations and generations for thousands of years, humans have celebrated on solstice. Oftentimes, those celebrations are a celebration of a harvest. It's celebrating the knowing that the fields have been tended, all of the crops have been harvested, the work has been done. And with the night so long and the weather so cold, there's a little bit of time that's not meant for hard work. And so people come together and they feast. People come together in the dark of the night and they tell stories and they hear stories. One example of a celebration of the winter solstice is from Egypt, where there's a temple called the Karnak Temple. This temple was built in a way that during the solstice at sunrise, The sun shines exactly through two pillars. And it's no coincidence that Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and Christmas all come just after the solstice and all celebrate using candles. All celebrate light. All celebrate hope. There's no coincidence there. So when I think of solstice, I think of it as a time to ask myself, what light do I wish to bring into the world?
Now that you've heard a little of what the winter solstice means to us, it's time for your assignment this week. And you have 3 options. Option 1, make a model of the sun and the earth that demonstrates why we have the longest nights on the winter solstice. Option 2, find a bud or a blossoming flower, take a picture or draw it, and write or take a video explaining why plants wake up after the solstice. Option 3, how do you want to shine this year? Tell us a story. Tell us through art or tell us through writing. Good luck, Kairos leaders.
Don't ignore your shine. You know you'll be fine. Don't ignore your shine. Don't ignore your
Don't
shine.
you ignore your shine.
You'll be fine.
'Cause I'm not gonna hide no more. Believe in yourself. Don't let anyone else tell you